All right, he needs no further introduction. Can we just put our hands again together as we bring up Mr. Bola Ajomale? Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Let's keep clapping so that they can talk well. All right, the second person we'll be speaking today is interesting. I was looking at my phone and I'm wondering, why am I not seeing these things? I'm not wearing the glasses. That's why we have to know what we have. Praise the Lord. All right, let me start with a woman. I said something to one of the speakers. I said, it seems that one of the criteria for all the speakers was that they must be black and beautiful. Can we put our hands together for our black and beautiful speakers? All right, so this person is an award-winning entrepreneur in child nutrition and gender advocacy. She is the founder and managing director of August Secrets. We can clap, we can clap, we can clap. A fast-growing child nutrition company based in Nigeria. They are the makers of Jaden's natural cereals. She's a highly sought-after speaker. Can we put our hands together because she's with us? She's an influencer for young moms on issues relating to child nutrition, gender advocacy, and personal development for women. She has represented Nigeria at various global panels and programs, one of which is accelerating SDG Goal 2 of ending hunger and malnutrition in Thailand. She is happily married and blessed with 3 beautiful children. She is none other than Oluwatoyin Onigbanjo. Can we put our hands together again for her? Coming up next, she is the managing director of Toke Cosmetics. She's passionate about agriculture, manufacturing, and fast-moving consumer goods. She has worked in various organizations, including Nivea, GSK, among others. Can we clap our hands? She is highly resourceful. She is well-grounded in manufacturing and marketing of products, on how to run a business based on a lean principle. She is growth-oriented. She is currently the founder and managing director of Toke Cosmetics, which she founded while she was in the university. She also is happily married and blessed with 2 beautiful daughters. She is no other than Olabisi Korede Dada. Can we put our hands together for her as we make welcome? Also, we have the privilege of having one of our speakers. She is the CEO of WAVE. WAVE means West Africa Vocational Education. She is a visionary leader. She's dedicated to empowering the youth of West Africa with her skills and with opportunities that they need to realize their full potential. She is a registered pharmacist, recognized by the Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria and the General Pharmaceutical Council of the United Kingdom. Thank you. She has a passion for supporting young women and the youth. She has found expression through her dedicated membership in the Women in Management, Business and Public Sector, which is called WINBIS. Currently, she holds a position as a chairperson at Serving with Love Foundation, a non-governmental organization. She is committed to uplifting indigenous women and children through empowerment initiatives and feeding programs. She's going to feed you well. She is happily married and a loving mother to a beautiful daughter. She is Molade Adeniyi. Now, to facilitate this session, we have the honor, we have the privilege of having the Chief Executive Officer for Faith Foundation. She's going to be the moderator for this session, which is about how to raise capital, how to start a business, how to have a viable business. She is a social innovator with expertise in small and growing businesses, in policy, institutional transformation, and nonprofit sustainability, philanthropy, and corporate governance. The thing is even twisting my tongue. She has over 22 years experience in the private and public sector. She works to develop full and implement innovative programs and high-impact policies for micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises for young people. There's so much emphasis on young people here today. Okay, she is Nigeria's foremost business Faith Foundation is Nigeria's foremost business incubator that has connected over 240,000 entrepreneurs in over 31 states to a wide range of resources. Prior to Faith Foundation, she was a manager in the Public and Development Advisory Services of KPMG. She's also the pioneer executive director of the Nigerian Leadership Initiative. She's an active volunteer of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, where she is a lead facilitator. Can we put our hands together again for her? And now with a standing ovation and a resounding applause. Can we give a standing ovation and a resounding applause? Can we welcome all of our speakers as I hand over to our moderator to take it up from there? Keep clapping to bring out the juice in them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're happy. On behalf of the panelists, we say thank you. Please sit down. Thank you so much. Thank you very much to our pastors for inviting us. Thank you so much to Deacon Iwayemi for the intentionality about designing this program, and also to Femi and to the team that planned it. What we are here to do today is really to provide different perspectives with respect to starting and building a viable business, but also incorporating, looking at opportunities, because a lot of people are struggling different things. There are people who are in full-time business, full-time employment, in between the two. So even how do you think and approach that transitioning part? So we'll cover a few ranges of topics, but those topics were also designed based on the feedback form that I believe quite a number of us here had filled, that then informed the conversation. So thank you, and you're welcome again to my panelists. And I really would like to say thank you to our keynote speaker, who also helped to set the stage for the conversations we had today and putting me on the spot. It was appreciated. And I will actually start with that. And I would use an example. Why I started using that example of what you have in your hand was we had done a program about 4-5 years ago. We do a program in universities, in tertiary institutions. And a lot of the complaints a lot of times were from a lot of our young people was that they were in courses that, they didn't, how could they have successful careers because they weren't enjoying school. About 90% of the people in courses were doing programs that they did not apply to. And I said, yes, everybody. I was in school for linguistics. And half of people in arts, if not more than half, wanted to be in law. 90% of people in social sciences wanted to be in economics. 90% of people who are in sciences wanted to be in medicine. So the way the university system is structured, or even the school system is structured, I will speak also about this, it sort of worked. But again, life will put you in places where sometimes you don't even know the uniqueness of what your skill as a person, or your individual, or even the course that you've learned. So even the linguistics that I studied that people used to look down on a lot, because they'll say the thing you can do is go and translate, or you work as a teacher. One of the most highly sought after skills in tech companies now is linguistics, is linguists. And guess what expertise they are looking at? One of the other courses people used to laugh at people at in school, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa. Why? When you put on Google Maps, that sounds like a Nigerian. Do you know that there are linguists trying to tune the machine and the AI to understand how people speak? So they're looking for people who studied Yoruba in school. And more than half of their experts are even in people from Asia, like who went to the US to then study Igbo. What's Igbo, what's Yoruba, and they're in the US studying. My children have a Yoruba teacher because I decided that I also wanted them to be able to speak Yoruba fluently, and between myself and my husband, we're not doing a good job at that. This woman is now doing her PhD in the US. She runs a business where she has a group of teachers who teach in schools generally, in most schools that you know here. But then on Saturdays, Sundays, evenings, nights, they earn extra money as our employees by teaching Nigerian parents, children in the US, in Canada, in Dubai, in Ireland, in Australia. And she started that business, and that business boomed a lot during COVID. And then she got a fellowship to a US university to study PhD. So the point about that is that the life is so interesting that even that thing that, because when she was telling me her story, she just said, well, she actually was one of the very few people who wanted to study Yoruba, but everybody was laughing at her and was like, well, the worst you'll do is Yoruba teacher. And if you even think about teaching, Yoruba is not even like one of the teaching subjects you want to teach that is seen as prime. She's earning 3, 4, when she sends you a price list, you say if you're in UAE, Canada, she'll give you a price list, and she's employing about 20 teachers. She came down about a month ago to do a bonding, team bonding for them. So never despise the tools, the experiences, the thing you think, was cast away, or that is nothing, that is a stick. But that stick can beat goats, but it can also part the Red Sea. And that's what we hope to expound and share with you. There are challenges, but people are coming into Nigeria. That for me is the most outstanding thing. People are coming to Nigeria. I came in on a flight from Kenya Airways about 2 weeks ago. 3/4 of those coming in were people from Eastern Europe, from the Middle East, coming here. I had conversations. They have businesses here. Meanwhile, we are flying out of here. And so we hope, like Mr. Ajamale has inspired us to think of, we'll talk about the challenges because they're important to also understand them, but we hope to be able to shed light and inspire you in terms of the opportunities that are here. And so I'm going to start with our 2 entrepreneurs, because he's also an entrepreneur, but I will start with our 2 entrepreneurs because I think that it's important to talk about entrepreneurship journey and how and why they started their business. And I'll start with Ms. Onigbanjo. Just very briefly, can you tell us how did you go about founding a business where a lot of your products are now on major stores in Nigeria, not just even in Lagos, and also even in smaller stores literally across the country, and people also get your products outside of Nigeria? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, and I was just really wowed at the story of that Yoruba teacher. It's really amazing, and how August CP started. My name is Toyin Onigbanjo, as you might have known, and around 2014, I had my son, in January. And usually, with the first child, you go out of your way to get everything. I remember vividly, my husband literally went broke just trying to buy the kind of milk that my sister-in-law recommended. New parents were just so excited. And we went all out, we bought everything, and then we returned to the country as usual. I was working, he was also working. And but I realized that this boy wasn't taking any of those foods. We would give to him. We were opening each of the purees one after the other. The milk, he rejected every single one of them. And I'm talking about like 3 suitcases. We planned everything like between when he turned 6 months and when he became maybe like 2 years old. We wouldn't need to shop for any of these foods anymore. So that was how we did it. It was like a long-term investment. So he didn't take any of them. And I was like, guy, I want to resume, or I have to resume to work. You're not taking any of this. At the crèche, they'll complain and all that. So the frustration led me to start thinking to say, okay, so this is carrot and sweet potatoes. And it's pureed, imported. Why can't I try the homemade one? Let me just try, because he has to eat something. And you know how it is when your child isn't eating. You won't be able to concentrate on anything. And the child will keep crying. You're at work, they are calling from the crèche. He ate this one, he didn't eat this one. It's really so frustrating. So, and I started to try, we tried pap.
People are very judgmental on first-time mothers.
Exactly. And, as a first-time mom, it was really so, like, you won't be able to do anything else. You just want to make sure that child eats, and you go out of that judgment and also that mom guilt as well, that am I even doing well? Am I even trying my best? So, and then, of course, the next thing was supposed to be pap, or give Ogi Baba now. We tried that, and out of the frustration, I just thought about it. We had all sorts of different kinds of food. Carrots and sweet potatoes, rice and beef, fish and this kind, all imported. And I was like, why can't we have this? Why can't we have food that is just like this for a child that doesn't want to eat the one that is already on the shelf with all sorts of fillers and everything. And, when I started trying it for him in the house, now I've always been adventurous with food. I love food a lot. I don't eat a lot, but I'm a kind of person that, I love hosting friends and family. If there's any party in the house, I'm always that go-to person with different kinds of recipes and all that. So it just came natural for me to start trying. And of course, very frustrated. So I had a bit of anger in me to try. So it gave me a lot of creativity. And when I started trying these foods in the house, he started to take them. I tried the first one, he took them. The second one, he took them. I was like, okay, it seems like this is interesting. So I had to then make different, different sizes, different types in the freezer. So breakfast, he would take some. Lunch, he would take some. And that was how my son didn't take any packaged food till he grew, any. So he took only my food, and it really, that was the beginning of our company. Really, there's no other way to explain it, because it was so inspiring to, thank you very much. It was so inspiring to other people. They're like, okay, so this is it. And I was just saying to someone yesterday that I would say that 90% of the people that I've met and the opportunities that I've had in my life in the last 10 years, 12 years, has been because of that courageous decision to begin. So, and then mom started asking, let me have 2 of it, because I have a son that is like yours in my house. I thought it was a joke. The first mom, second mom, third mom, 10th mom, 20th. I was like, you know what? I became overwhelmed. In fact, I had to cut my hair. It was that bad, because I couldn't concentrate at work. I couldn't concentrate with my family. And sometimes, as they say, these challenges are meant to give you I can't get that overwhelmed and not have a secondary thing to say. Then that means there's a problem. That means that I'm not the only one experiencing this problem. And that's how it has been in the last 7 years.
Fantastic. And can you give us a sense of, for whatever you can share publicly, just 1 or 2 stats about where your business is now in terms of your products, your scale, whatever you can share.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting because we started from the house and there was no structure, there was no business, nothing. It was just me packing the purees. And today of course, from the house, we moved to first factory, second factory. We are in our 4th space now. And our products is in about over 500 outlets in Nigeria, from Ebano, ShopRite, Spa, anywhere. You can find our products on the shelf. So for thousands of babies like that, we ship nationwide and even outside of the country. African stores in the UK, US, they have August Secrets on the shelf. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very proud to hear about your journey. I've been told to inform all of us that we can pick up a cup of coffee or tea at the back, close to the technical stand, so that we're refreshed and warmed up, because this is an interesting conversation which we'll explore a bit more. Thank you very much, Tony. That was really inspiring. Great. So to another inspiring lady, Toke, so when you were being introduced, they said you started your business from school. So tell us about that, please.
Okay, when you were speaking, you were saying 90% of people in a particular course were just given. That they were just given. Okay. That they were just given. So same thing, I studied industrial chemistry. Not that that's what I wanted to study in school. I wanted to do nursing. But they gave me that, I accepted that. And thank God I was able to make something out of it. So I started back in school. And then, 200 level, then I had some very funky friends. I'm dark skinned. I wanted to, tone my skin a little, just be brighter. And then somebody recommended a particular oil for me that if I use this oil, in 7 days, I'll be done. I said, 7 days is too fast. No? I need something that will do it small. So I then went to the market. I know that Ori shea butter is good. It's a moisturizer, but it doesn't have any bleaching effect. So I bought that. But one of the things that stood out for me was that the Ori wasn't packaged. I schooled in Oshogbo, Osho State University. The Ori wasn't packaged, and it has a very bad smell. But I had a goal in mind. I kept using it. The first day, I shall manage. Rubbed it on my body. The second day, same thing. The third day, I was just like, I can't continue. Let me leave my skin this way. But something hit me that I know most people want to use the same shea butter, but the smell is just a put off for them. So I started thinking, what can I do? And then growing up as a kid, my mom usually put shea butter at the back of the door. If I have boil, she'll just rub it on my head. So the idea came to me that if I could do something about this, there will be so many mothers that will want to also use shea butter for their kids. Probably this kind of thing that I'm also experiencing is a put-off for them. Industrial chemistry, this now came in now. I started asking my colleagues in school, how can I deodorize shea butter and still retain its quality? I started doing my research. Then I also have to put a place for God.
What year was this?
That was 2013. I was in 200 level. Then I'm from a polygamous home. I really don't have a model or a structure or people that I look up to, things like that. And it looks like I was already going one way. So I feel God just wanted to keep me busy. And then because when I said I was going to do something about that shea butter, there's something that's always reminding me every day. You said you want to do something about this thing. You've not done it. It was just it was like something beside me always telling me, you've not done it, you've done it. So I started researching, asking people, asked my course director, and then I did. And then when I got the idea, it was funny, but then the Holy Spirit told me not to tell anybody because they might want to beat it down that Oriba or, things like that. And then my friends again were like, oh. So I kept it to myself, and I made it physical. I made a product, did label, and made it physical. When I made it physical, I gave out to people to test and all of that. One of my friends bought it, took it to a motherless home, and they used it, and they were like, this thing actually cured boil, and we also like the smell. And when I started out, I had my mom usually sells, she's a trader, so we had I said, I'm going to sell this product. I'm not going to put so much margin on it. If I'm making 20 naira on this product, if I'm selling thousands, millions of it, I'm okay. So I started out very small, from Oshogbo then. When I did the sample and they took it in an orphanage home and they loved it, I said, okay, the next point is to reach out to the people that actually need this product, which is the nursing mothers. So I started going from one primary health center to another in Oshogbo then. From there, I even traveled to Ilesha, Ibadan, Adeoyo, all the general hospital that will meet all the mothers in, numbers. And God has been so great, wonderful. People use the products, basically on referral. They like it. They say, this is very good. Can I sell? It's a low margin product. People can also make their profit from it. And I hope I've not missed the question. Okay, all right. So from primary health center, I wake up early in the morning before my course. During holiday, I go to the primary health center early in the morning because, before the doctor attends to them, it's like I have a window of like 1 hour to speak to them. And then there are other people selling pop-off and all that things too. I need to get there before they use their money to buy pop-off. So I was very strategic. It was like I was hawking at a point. But I knew where I was going to. I knew that God was up to something with me. And, fast forward, I finished school. I thought, let me get a classy job. Let me work in VI. And then I left that business. I said I wanted to work so I can earn more money. I hope I'm still in.
Yes, you are good.
Okay. So I said I wanted to work and earn more money so I can use it to do my NAFDAC and every other thing. I worked in a real estate company in VIA, but it wasn't. I worked for 6 months, but it wasn't. I worked while I was in school too with Nivea, GSK, and all of that. So I think God was just putting me in places to learn things, see how things work, models, and all of that. So I had recession 2015 or so. I was being paid 50,000 and I live in Korodu. The transportation cost was crazy. I just said, okay, I'm not doing this any longer. I'm going to put my mind to this thing, do it. January 2016, I said, this January, I want to sell 500 pieces. And I did. I said from the turnover, I will use it to do my NAFDAC. I did my NAFDAC myself. Normally NAFDAC is like high up there. And then I went to meet a consultant. They were like, you pay 3 million here. I said, no, I'm okay now. So I just said, if this will take me 1 year, I broke it down. People even knew me in NAFDAC because they know that I'm that troublesome lady that will just come and say, please, I don't understand this thing. And they were willing to put me through. So I said, when I got to Lagos, I started in my friend's room in Osun State. When I got to Lagos, I started in my mom's kitchen again. I wanted to do my NAFDAC. I can't be in that place. So my dad gave me a self-con apartment. And I also got some things done. all of that. So when I want to give you the story of the NAFDAC. So when NAFDAC came and saw our space, they were like, no, this is too small. This is, this can't work and everything. But at the end of the day, they were able to give us that NAFDAC. We were able to also sell our products in pharmacies, supermarkets, like that. It's been a good journey. We have currently our factories in Ikorodu on a 3 plots. When we got there as a tenant. And God has really helped us to acquire the space, even acquire the one beside it. We have over 30 staffs working for us now in Ikorodu and in Lagos and Ibadan. We sell our products. When I was trying to sell to UK, US, it was looking like it wasn't working. I said, what am I doing with West African countries? We moved to Lomé. We moved to Côte d'Ivoire. During this AFCON, we went to Côte d'Ivoire. That's at least, Nigerians, everybody. And it's amazing that when I even got there, people are speaking Yoruba, not French. So,
fantastic. Please, a round of applause. And why I find great things that I know everybody on this panel. And when Deacon was talking about this session, one of the things he said was they wanted practical examples. They didn't want people to come and say stories that you like, but it's not, you can't even see your own path there. And thank you very much for coming to share your stories. And I think in both ways, you've talked about how you identified a gap, a need, you started small, you were very strategic, you understood, you got to a point where you transitioned from, and both of them transitioned from working to entrepreneurship and all of those things. And now it's not perfect, but the journey still continues. Thank you. So, Mr. Jamale, thank you. Please clap. I like that table he has been. Thank you. Yes, they're the choir. So please, can you just in your mind, how does one describe a viable business? What are the things to say, this business is viable, this business is growing? In very simple terms.
The simplest, I'm trying to think of the simplest way of putting it. A viable business is really one, and I'm not being funny here, but is one that is working. I want to say one that is working. It has got an owner who is passionate about it and wants to see it through. First of all, the commitment of the owner. If the owner is not committed, it's not viable. No matter how great the business is, if the owner is not committed, it's not viable. So for those who want to even fund a business, one of the first things they want to do, before they even look at the products, the numbers, or anything, they'll try and see, is this person really committed to this business or not? If the person says, well, I'll start it now, but I'll soon be going to UK, it's not a viable business. I'm going to hand it over to my cousin. It's not a viable business. And I'm not talking about very old and experienced people. I'm talking about even a young person who is still in 200 level, who has a passion about something. That's a viable business. Why? Because the person's passion is there, for as long as they're not distracted. That's the first thing. The second thing is there a need for the business? Is there a need? Now, you cannot force people to buy what they don't want or what they don't need. You can't force money out of their pockets. However, if there is a need and people come back for more while it's free, there's some things that will be given to you while it's free, and you look at it and you leave it aside. I've been to lots of parties, and they'll give me some piece of plastic, and I think, well, thank you, but... But when there's a need, and people really, really need it, then viability starts to show, because you then charge a certain amount, start off with low margins, people are paying, you raise the margins, people are paying, the word is spreading, and people are still coming back asking for more. That's viability. Once there is demand, and the demand is genuine, and it's not artificial, it's not that you're forcing it down anyone's throat, then it's beginning to look like a viable business. I would say also that a viable business is one that has a push in it for you to expand. So if you're running a business and you say, this is the cap, we're not going to grow any bigger than this, then it's not viable. Why? Because growth is critical to any business. You cannot, if you maintain a business in the back room and you want to keep it in the back room, then it's not a viable business. A viable business is one that grows and continues to expand and aspires into even bigger things. These are I would say, the characteristics, the science of it, or some of the things behind what we in the finance world call a viable business. We then start looking at the numbers it's generating, the profitability of it, and so on. But they are not really as important as the first ones that I've just mentioned.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to move to Molade. And Molade runs a very interesting organization, which I think she should tell us even a bit more about. The first time I came across that organization was probably about 9 or 10 years ago, and they play a very significant role in the space of entrepreneurship. So perhaps, can you tell us why the work you do is important in supporting entrepreneurs, but also bearing in mind that there are people here looking for work, but also even doing the same thing, so looking for work and trying to run a business on the side? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nike. And let me just start off by saying thank you to the Temple of God for inviting me to speak at this very much needed convening. So WAVE, West Africa Vocational Education. I'm not the founder. I saw that in the brochure, it said founder. But I am the CEO, and I've been the CEO for the last five and a half years. So there's a lot of intrapreneurship going on there. And why was WAVE founded? I mean, if I ask for people in the room who are looking for work, how many times do you go to search for work and they tell you things like, oh, we're looking for somebody that has gone to university, and we're looking for somebody that has 5 years work experience. And you're asking yourself, but I'm a graduate, even those that have gone to university. Somebody has to give me a chance first before I can have this 5 years or 3 years work experience. So you see entry-level roles asking for 3 to 5 years experience, and you're kind of like, who comes up with these things? And again, I don't know if you know the numbers, but there are many more Nigerian young men and women that will not go to university versus those that will go to university. So when employers begin to use those matrix or those biases of university degree and years of experience to hire people, automatically millions of Nigerians are locked out of the job market. And there seems like there's no other option for them than for them to go and look for small things to do elsewhere. But then, 10 years ago when WAVE was founded, we realized that the people who were effective in the job, especially for entry-level roles, college degree or university degree and 3 or 4 years experience had nothing to do with whether they were going to be effective on the job or not. It was really more about the competence and the skills that they have. And when we started to speak to employers of labor, and for employers in the room, I'll ask you this as well. What is more important to you? For somebody who, as an example, who is a waiter, if you run a restaurant, do you want a waiter who has university degree, 3 to 4 years experience, or do you want a waiter who is excellent in communication, who has great customer service skills, who is able to think about teamwork, who has the ability to solve problems, not the one that every time there's a problem, they will run to you and looking at you to what to do. On the other hand, without mincing words, our education system already is broken. So the fact that I've gone to university also does not mean that I've received an excellent education and I have all that it takes. So at WAVE, we decided to, that was the problem we decided to tackle. The idea was, if we can get young people into a room and teach these soft skills, these critical skills that are needed, that employers were asking for. And if we can find employer partners that will take a risk on us and just take these young people and try them out, we believe that we will get many more young people off unemployment and into employment. And that was really how it started. So the first class was 12 young people who hadn't heard about WAVE. We got them into a classroom back then, and it was focused on this competence. We call it, an employer said to me once that, a lot of times we hire for credentials, but then we fire for for competence or we fire for soft skills. Because I will hire somebody that says they did accounting at university, they can't type a simple email, they can't really they don't know how to take initiative, they don't know how to manage expectations, and that's what's really frustrating. So we got 12 young people into a room and we focused on teaching them about customer service. How do you approach problem solving? Communication, what does communication even mean? Managing expectations. How many of you, another critical example. You are waiting for someone, an artisan, maybe your driver, a workman, or something like that. They told you that they'll be there at 9 o'clock. You call them at 8:30. Where are you? Madam, I'm almost there. I'm close. I'm right around the corner. Or they don't even call at all. Some of them they will now off their phone. They now turn up at 11 a.m. They've restructured your day. The next time you need an artisan, or you would never recommend that person to someone else, or you would always say with a caveat, you know what, if you need him at 11, tell him to come at 8 or something like that. But this was critical for us. So we started to teach people the importance of communication, managing of expectations. Imagine if that same person had called you at 8 o'clock to say, I'm so sorry, there's a lot of traffic, or I left home late, there's flooding, I won't be with you till 11. You might be a little bit upset, but what it means is you now know that I can get on with my day, and I can come back at 11. They've managed expectation. And couple that with they have the competence to do the job. The next time somebody asks you to refer someone, you will be more than happy to refer this person. So that's what we did. We got these 12 young people. We taught them the importance of all of this. And then with those 12 people, 90% of them found a job and kept that job. And employers started to say, okay, wow, there's something here. So that really is how we think about it. We work with young people who are very low skilled, who haven't had the university experience. And over the years, we've been able to connect them with job opportunities. But more importantly, they've also been able to start their businesses, because these skills also translate to starting a business. Like I said, the plumber, the welder, the whoever needs these skills, because it's what will help them get that first job, then get them referred for a second job, a third job, a fourth job. And for me, that has just been what I've devoted the last 5.5 years to doing, is really helping people see the importance of these skills into employability, but also entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much. And well done for the work that WAVE does. I remember someone telling me, I think maybe it was Hans Irene or something a few years ago, that, when they started, the key gap that WAVE put was really just getting them young people who were employable for their space, And, like you said, the education system really has a lot of its challenges. Thank you. So our next round of questions will then be the opportunities within the space. So I'm going to start with Toyin. So if everybody talks about, if you're on social media, you see that tomato is very expensive. So everybody is now looking at cucumber to make tomato stew and everything. So on the one hand, people say there's no food is expensive and everything. But on the other hand, people then say there's opportunities in the agribusiness space and everything. So can you just give us a view of your perspective because you're across the value chain where you're feeding, even though it's younger children, but you're also sourcing a lot of all your input products and everything. What do you think are the opportunities for anybody that wants to play in that space? Challenges and opportunities for anybody that wants to play in the agribusiness space, particularly looking at processing for that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question. For food, as my perspective with opportunities in the agribusiness space is that, especially lately, there's been a whole lot of, I would say, competition, but I'll explain. So yesterday, I was watching a video where someone was at a fair, and people were raving about the person's jollof rice, and then they said, 10 bags had finished cooking, they finished cooking 10 bags before 3 p.m., and everyone was raving about the food, and it's just jollof rice and chicken. And the location was in Ikeja. And in my mind, I was smiling, I was looking at the crowd, and my question was, people jumped about 5 places to eat jollof rice to get to this particular place. And I was actually eating jollof rice then at the office. And in my mind, I was like, this jollof rice I'm eating is very good because I know the vendor as well. So what then is the difference between that person's jollof rice that has finished selling 10 bags before 3 p.m. and the jollof rice I was eating, or any other jollof rice that the people who gathered must have passed over before getting there? If I want to go to Ikeja to buy jollof rice from a fair, I would most likely have jumped about 20 places where I could have bought the same thing. But why am I going there to buy? So that would be the perspective of the opportunity that I believe are within the agribusiness sector, especially from the angle of food processing. If you go to the stores today, you find all sorts of brands of food. If you go to the different sections, you find a whole lot of, if you start making something today, you find like 20 other people who will join you afterwards. And then it seems like, there's no opportunity. Some people say, everybody would always eat. No matter how hard things are, will always eat. But the truth is, it's really not true. If you're not careful, if you start making something on the streets now, you're going to find 20 other people, and then it becomes like, I thought that I was special, quote and unquote. Now, so the opportunity that I see in here is, just like the example of the jollof rice, is that the differentiation is no longer within the products. If you're you're cooking jollof rice, the differentiation is no longer in just the taste. It's then the other offerings that you're offering aside that jollof rice, which will explain why someone would drive all the way from the island to go to Ikeja to buy rice. That you have other, opportunities on the way. So what is then special about that person's food? I'm sure that it's not really the taste. Do we agree? It's not the taste. We've seen better tasting food. So it is the other additional opportunities. You're making food. Everybody is packaging brown rice or fada rice. What about you label yours for the elderly? If that is what is in your mind, you're saying it, but you're not even acting it. Have you brought an elderly person to be a model for you? Have you brought an elderly person to try it out and share testimonials about, this is beautiful? Because the truth is, there's a whole lot of food is scarce now. So, but if you start anything or if you're making anything, the opportunity is really not in the food itself. The opportunity is really not in the product itself, but other added values that you can add to what it is that you're doing. Shea butter, I've heard about shea butter before, but why am I going to buy shea butter from Toke Cosmetics? I'm sure that she can answer that question.
Yeah, I won't tell you why I buy, but please go ahead.
Okay, so now I'm going to try out one of our shea butter products because I can relate with her story, because I see the passion and the commitment that she puts into her shea butter, and I have that psychological feeling that she has dedicated that to it, other than the one I'm just going to find at the store, and I just feel like maybe they've added something that I don't know, but I can relate with Toke, which is why I was so excited that from our keynote speaker, who is a seasoned finance expert, saying that how to identify a viable business, one of them is the commitment of the founder. I think that's really inspiring. And in this day and age, that is what is required. You can't do half and half. It has to be full commitment. So whatever it is that you want to produce, it's fine. You want to start making egusi snacks, it's beautiful. You want to start making... The food is everywhere, but how you make the food really goes a long way, and that's the biggest opportunity that I see in this day.
Thank you. Toyin has talked about so there's a lot, the food space is very wide. I can tell you, and she's right, for every product I see, I can tell you 1,000,001 other people that are doing the same thing. But that shouldn't discourage you. It's to make sure that, first of all, what's the quality of the product? And quality does not have to be expensive. It is just that when you do this thing and people get it, it must be there. There's nothing as annoying as, and particularly when you hear all these jollof rice. So sometimes you hear, food is very nice, blah, 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 and then you eat the food. It's so annoying when you don't like the food because you're like, I can cook this in my house. So I've seen people who do catering, and do it very well. But what happens when they lose customers? Because that jollof rice that you remembered, smoky, nice, is a problem. And I think we'll actually talk about that, the problem of scale. Because sometimes it's okay for you to just be serving 20 people a week. Because when you start to serve 100 people, you had better be able to retain that standard of the 20 people. So quality is there. Then she talked about branding. A lot of times now, you're connected to the branding. One of the things I love about that transition for Made in Nigeria is that you will see, if you go to any store now, you see a Toke cosmetic, you remember her story, and then it pulls you. But like Mr. Jomale said, we have social media now, right? And so many people you follow is because there's something about their story. So maybe you watch their content, maybe you buy their products, or you take on their services. It's because you've heard their story somewhere, and then there's a connection. So how are people connecting to your brand? Either because of you or the intent to which your brand is showing. Competitiveness, how are you standing out in the multitude, in the mass of people? How are you also standing out? And then also making sure that you're positioning yourself close to where your customers are. So, like she said, there's so many people selling jollof rice. But that person went to sell her product at market fairs that will have thousands of people coming to patronize. So, again, it depends. And there are some people that sell jollof rice that did not go and serve as a vendor there. I think the point is that also knowing where your customers are, going to meet them. And Toke used that example. I call her Toke. Olabisi used that example a lot when she was saying she was going to maternal health care centers, public health care centers, and that. So who is meant to be buying your product? Who are you targeting? Are they able to pay for your product? So there's one thing to like, and then I think Mr. Jamal was saying that, but there's another thing to be able to pay. Because there are people that will say, oh, I like this, but they cannot pay. There's an example we use in Faith. There was one lady, she came to our program, this was in 2016, and then she said our market entry strategy was, she cooks, and she's from the South. My mom is half Calabar, so I love, Calabar soups very much. And so she then said, and she had a shop somewhere on the mainland, one of the major markets on the mainland then, that, she's going to start selling edikaiko, but hers will not have the fake pomo, you'll have periwinkle, you'll have shrimp, you'll have snail, you'll have everything, but you would only sell it for 1,000 per plate. So we then did a practical class, and we then said, okay, let's break down how much would, I actually drew a pot, and I said, okay, this pot, how many spoons of palm oil will you need? How many spoons of crayfish and everything? She said, okay, then let's cost it. So we then started to cost it. She didn't cost the crayfish. I said, our mom sends crayfish from Cross River. I said, no, you need to cost it. Then she did that. We then said, okay, where are you going to sell this? She said she has a shop. She's going to open a shop. Okay, are you going to have AC? Said, okay. We then said, okay, let's do the calculation of electricity a month. Let's break it down to 30 days or 24 days when you'll be opening the shop. Are you going to have servers? How much are you going to pay them? So by the time we did that, she then realized why the person that sells this for 800 by the side of the road sells it and does not need periwinkle. And the whole conversation then went to, some people are fine with edikaiko that does not have periwinkle, that does not have that. So you have to understand, what that is. And so that's, again, what she was saying. How are you pricing your product? How are you thinking about what you're selling to make sure that the person you're selling it to not just likes it, but they can also afford to pay about it? So, Olabisi, you shared your story about, from university, you started your business to where you are to date. How have you been able to finance the business?
Okay. First of all, I didn't just get funding directly. There was a proof that my business can do well. So one of the things I did was to open a bank account. I also identified people, organizations that can give me the kind of opportunity I want. I found out about Faith Foundation. And before I found out about Faith Foundation, there's this LSCTF that Lagos State government, a friend told me about it, and I applied. I usually position myself to, organizations, firms that can actually offer me things that I need. So I've said LSCTF when I started out. They loaned me like 2.5 million then. And then this AGMIS by CBN. I think it's still functional through BOI. Also through Finance Home. I've gone past that, but then through Finance Home. Even now, we even have people that pay upfront. One of the ways we also get funding is that people pay upfront. We are able to, we also sometimes, if we need much cash flow, we also, maybe offer a discount and, we're able to get that. I hope it answers the question.
Yes, it does, because what you started by saying you put structure in the business. So you set up a corporate bank. You registered the business.
Immediately, yes.
You
And
set
then
up
I
a corporate bank account, so
Yes.
that even separating your personal and business finances was important.
Yes.
You then took financial education, business
Yes.
education to
Yes.
understand how to run the business. And then you started to look for cheap financing opportunities and sources. That is not the bank. A lot of people go to the bank first.
Yes.
And because LSETF did less than 5%, still does less than 5% interest rate. And then after that, you then started to progress.
Yes.
And now you're even saying even those are small for you. And so maybe, Mr. Ajomale, I'll come to
Sorry,
you.
Adenike, I wonder if I
Yes.
could say something
Please.
about this financing and entrepreneurs. I'm sorry, sir.
Just go ahead.
So I agree with everything that you have just said, but there's something that many, many years ago, I got this, I don't want to call it a revelation, but especially when we speak to MSMEs, you're just starting out. And it is that a lot of people who are just starting up, they're actually robbing themselves, or they're not showing themselves up to their full potential. And what do I mean by that? So I have a very, very small business that I'm just starting up. And yes, my getting a bank loan might be many, many years to come. However, what is the bank seeing about my business today? So I'll give an example. I'm selling shea butter. I've opened up an account. But people are maybe giving me cash. They're not necessarily transferring the money in. I always say, bank every single income that you get. Every single money that comes into your hand for your business, make sure you are banking it into your account. Because what happens is sometimes I get that money, and then I feel like, I need to buy diesel, I need to buy airtime, I need to buy this. Before I bank, I've spent 50% of it, 70% of it, and then I'm only banking 30%. To the eye of a banker, what they see is that 30% that you're banking. So if they're going to ever value you, they will value you based on the 30% that you're actually putting into the bank. So I always say, put every single money that you get as revenue, bank it first. Then if you need to take money out for various things, you can take it out from that. Because then in 6 months, 1 year, whatever, when you are then going to the bank, and you have consistently put money in, they can see that there is this regular income that comes in on a weekly or monthly basis, and they actually then see the true capability and viability of your business.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. And so to build on that, can you then walk us through the journey of a business growth and the financing that they can get and people should look at each stages of the entrepreneurial and business growth?
While it's still an idea and you're testing out your very first, or you're still forming it, you're still honing your skill, it's probably going to be some of your savings, if you have any. If you don't have any savings, you have to have some friends who will buy into your idea, which is where, I was talking about collaboration earlier on, which is these are people who share your vision, who can understand what you're trying to do. Even if they can't, they just trust you in some form or another, or they hear your positive statements about what you want to do, and they're joining you in the hope that you will succeed. Friends, and I say friends as in real, true friends, who you can trust with your plans. And family. Again, these are people who are not looking to make a profit out of you. They want the best for you, and so they're hoping that this succeeds. So friends and family at the very outset of your idea. Now, you then start, as you said, and that was a fantastic way of coming in to say, you must bank everything. I would even go further to say, from the day you start, it is important that you keep a record of every single thing that you're doing with that business. Not only does it convince somebody, not only does it tell somebody else your journey of where you've been, it also gives you the opportunity of self-checking. where did I waste? Where did I lose? Why did I pay early? Why did I pay too late? There might be reasons why. Why hasn't this person paid me back? So when you say you pre-sell, I had actually written it down before to say make sure, if you can, pre-sell. I'll give you an example of somebody who pre-sells even at the largest possible scale. Lafarge, the cement makers. There was a time when Lafarge would sell. People were depositing for cement 6 months in advance, and so they didn't need to borrow any money from anybody because people had already given them money and said, just whenever you're ready, just give it to me. If you can pre-sell your products, it will finance you very cheaply. In fact, some people get so much of that pre-selling finance that they then set up treasury units to give out money. But I digress. Pre-sell. But even if you cannot pre-sell, buy on credit. It is not a bad thing, for as long as you pay. If you don't pay, you earn a pretty bad reputation. If you do pay back, it becomes cheaper for you to buy on credit. Oh, I would rather sell to somebody who I know would pay me eventually and honor their word. I'd rather sell to them than sell to somebody who is buying a bit less, one, or two, is not going to pay me. I would prefer somebody who I know is a good debtor. So buy on credit whenever you can. It gives you the ease and the peace of mind to go about doing your business for as long as you can sell the end product. Then you can start approaching banks. But then again, bank lending is always subject to whatever happens at central bank and whatever the government is thinking. So before you go that way, I've listed out a whole lot of organizations who would not only mentor you, speak to you about your business, train you, groom you, but they'd also give you a small amount of seed capital and say, go and start with this. Small amounts. Some go as low as 10,000 naira. Some will give you 10,000 naira and wish you the best. Some would say you need to be able to absorb a minimum of 100,000. Some would say you need to absorb 1 million. The list, for as long as you start looking for it, is available, seed capital. But the seed capital always would require that you keep a certain type of record and that you come back and you tell them how you have done as well. And if you don't, then you cut off that line. And then from that point on, you continue progressing until you get to the stage where RBC is, where as she was speaking, there was a question that was burning my mind, and I was asking her, what kind of share capital do you have? Because by the time you get to a certain level of performance that people can actually see, then some people would start bringing out their wallets and they'll be saying, I want to invest in your business. I believe you're at that stage, and I believe we should have a conversation afterwards, because it is the kind of business that some people would say, I want to join. People will start throwing money at you. When you get to that stage, we call them angel investors, and they would say, I will put down a certain amount. How much do you need? You need 10 million naira. You need 50 million naira. Okay, I'll put down 35 million naira for a certain portion of your business. And they'll buy into your business, and then they start growing with you. Most of the time, angel investors as well are pretty well connected. And so they will lead your business into other areas, into distribution channels. They'll lead you into other co-investors. They'll lead you into suppliers and so on. And as you grow, they'll then say, okay, it's now time for us to take in a venture capitalist. A venture capitalist normally wants to invest and multiply their investment by 10. So they will come in, put money into your business, and then drive you absolutely crazy because they need to make their money back. So they will force you to even grow harder and faster. And by the time they're done with you, the next thing that you need to do is to approach an exchange. And so you take your company into a stock exchange, and the general public now come in and start buying into your company. And at that stage, a lot of your job is done. The company is on a life of its own. You have set up the right governance, and your retirement is set. So those are the general stages And I hope I covered.
Yes, you did. And I want to ask a follow-up question to that. So you've talked about the different stages of financing, but, and you started to talk about some of the things that financiers of different stages look for. Can you just give like a checklist of 4 or 5 things that even if it's LSETF, CBN, when somebody is reviewing your business plan or pitch deck, what are some of the things that they see? You've talked about it a bit, but I wanted you to emphasize it.
Okay, so one of the first things they want to see, I said at the beginning, what your friends and family want to see is your commitment. When you get to a certain stage, it's not commitment alone. They then want to see your records. They want to see how you have used your assets, whether there's any waste or any fat that needs to be cut out of your business. Probably more important, on the same level as you grow further, on the same level as commitment is for a startup, is your governance. How are you governed? Is it you and your wife and your son that's running the business? In which case, your governance is pretty weak. Whatever daddy says goes, right? So your governance at that stage now becomes a bit of an issue. Or is it that you have got independent people, professionals who know their stuff, who have been through wave, who, have been schooled and trained in certain areas? Have you got the right people running the business? And have you got people who, when you say, let's go this way, if in their professional judgment they believe, okay, be careful, there's some risks there, they can tell you and you will listen to. So some investors at the venture capital stage, they'll start looking at that, at your governance. If they're not convinced of your governance but convinced of your business, they will try and buy you and install that governance because they believe in the business. They know that you're a good businessman, you're a good entrepreneur, but you're a bad people manager and you can run this business down. So your governance becomes very, very critical at that stage. By the time you hit the highest level of financing, by the time you start going for public issuance and so on, then they're looking at your governance. Commitment no longer matters because you're not the only person there anymore. They're looking at your structure, they're looking at your competition, they're looking at everything else in the industry surrounding you before they decide whether they're going to invest in your company or not. So it goes from commitment, which is the personal one, to your governance, the people you surround yourself with and how you interact with them, to the final stage, where are you in your whole environment? So I'd say those 3 levels.
Yeah. Thank you for putting it very succinctly. And I want to, again, I hope the church is going to share the slides that Mr. Jamale projected. Yes. So people are saying they need the slides. So please, let's share it as soon as possible. He not only shared lists of different sources, he hyperlinked them. So he really made it very easy for you. So please take advantage of them. I'm quite familiar with most of them. And there's a lot of funding. In fact, I always say that a lot of our older entrepreneurs at Faith, we've been around for 24 years, they always complain about younger people complaining that there's no money. Because they will tell you that when they were starting their business, up until maybe about 2017, 2018, there wasn't really money in the space for you running a business, not even talk of ideas. Now, people will say, we'll give you 500K, 1 million, just share excellent idea. We will. And particularly if you're under 35, or a woman. There are even specialized grants and funding opportunities available for you. So you also then have to take advantage of them. And even if somebody has said no or you put in for something and you were rejected, you should reflect and say, why did I not make this mark? I can tell you there's so many programs. It's not about you knowing anybody. It is really you putting your best foot forward, thinking through your idea. So if you apply for something, you apply for a grant and you were rejected for it, maybe sit with someone, right, and ask yourself, and ask somebody to give you an independent feedback to say, how could I have presented this better or differently? Amolade and Mr. Jabale have emphasized certain things that are really standard principle, regardless of whatever business that you're running. One of the most financially literate people I have known in my life are people who are market women in Balogun. When people talk about, we educate, no, I'm like, yes. I know people that if you owe, they will tell you that, in February 2008, February 2008, I sold lace of 5,000 naira. Mr. Tagbedu owed me 50 naira, and he has not paid to date. They record, and they don't have Excel, not even talk of financial applications. I'm not saying that, it's that, but even if you can start as basic as a book, there are a lot of financial tools and applications that are available, but just start keeping your records. Start noting it down. If you are starting to sell something, we're in June, you should be able to know, I sold this is the volume of sales I made in February, in March, in April. You should have it at the tip of your fingers. This is how much I spent. Particularly for Christians, I am even much more forceful. Because when you are praying, I believe, and we talked a lot about wisdom. When the deacon was preparing us, he talked a lot about wisdom. I always say that even if you are praying, you should be guided about your prayer. Okay, so you sold all your goods last week. Why? Are you asking God to tell you why? What was it about that day that made me sell? What was it about those? So that when you're even praying, you are guided, you have perspective, you have insights, and you use that knowledge to then restore and build, back and grow your business. And so please, let's take advantage. The LSCTF that Toke talked about is the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. They are the one organization that we personally recommend as an institution for businesses to take advantage of. And that is one model of a financing agency that has done well. They recently even opened another round, and they usually give from 200,000 naira up until 5 million. I don't know if they're still doing up to 5 million now. And the interest rates are between 2%, 3%, and 5%. It is the cheapest you can find. You do not even want to go to a bank. With the MPC rates and everything that are happening, your business has to be at a certain stage, and for a lot, we tell people just don't, except it's a specialized funding through the government that is being disbursed through, or by the government is disbursed through a bank. That's when I would encourage. So we are Lagos, we're businesses based in Lagos. Go to I believe it's lsctf.ng. Go to the website, look at it, apply. They would even tell you how you're doing. They'll give you a track. They're very good in telling you how you're progressing with your application, and you can send them an email to ask why you were rejected. They require you show them that you're a resident in Lagos, you have your Lazarus ID, you have a bank statement. But one of the even things that they started to do was that, I know for one of their loan programs, they even encouraged people to be banked, because part of their own metrics was saying, how do we get people to have bank accounts? So, sorry for my long explanation, but I just wanted to emphasize a lot of those things. We will do a last round of questions, and then we'll open up questions. I know there are a lot of, I'm sure all the people on that table will be asking questions. So we'll take questions right after that. So please, we have notebooks. Let's write our questions down. Let's make sure that our questions are succinct, very straight to the point. And if you have specific persons on our panel who you would like to respond to your questions, please also include it there. And I know we have a few of our ushers in the room. Please give it to that. So we'll ask a last round of questions here, and then we'll take that. So Tony, you've painted a very good journey of your business to date. Has it been all roses? And if not, can you share with us, and just again for us to learn, maybe one particular experience that was really challenging for you in your entrepreneurial journey to date, and what lessons for you that you think will be applicable to our audience here? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's certainly not all roses. I'm sure we all know that already. So there had been challenges, but I learned something last year, which is dividing our challenge, segmenting our challenges. And the challenges are divided into majorly technical challenges and adaptive challenges. Technical challenges are like, when you ask a business owner, what are your challenges? Oh, we need money. Oh, the staff are not doing well. And then the adaptive challenges are the challenges about yourself, your mindset, your thinking, and your perspective to even the challenge itself. It was so a big of an eye-opener for me. So I was able to segment our challenges and being able to attack them head-on. So I would say majorly, the challenges that we've had so far has been, for me, has been the biggest challenge, really. I would say this is the biggest challenge. There used to be two, but one has been conquered. So the first one, which is the biggest one, that we're still recovering from, was the pivoting. So I used to be in communications, and I used to be a news correspondent. So a news correspondent now making food in the kitchen, then now making food for doing about 10 tons every month. You know, that transition wasn't funny. I envy Toke for having experience with Nivea and then going into cosmetics. I went from carrying midgets and laptops to then starting out a factory. So we had a number of challenges, and I remember one vividly. It happened twice at two different times. We ordered an equipment, and the equipment did not work for one single day. We waited for 3 months for the equipment to arrive, and then by the time we put it on, we underestimated the noise level. You know, so because they said we should start small, now we started small. And then we were within an estate at the time. The moment we put it on, that equipment could not work. It could not serve us. And we're talking about $5,000, $10,000 at the time. So that was the end. And so we had to find an alternative. So we waited for 3 months. And then that was the first time I cried on this journey. I sat in the car and cried. I was like, I need to cry this out. And then I got home. I was like, okay, we'll move on. You know, so because the question then was, you know, didn't we get consultants? Didn't we get engineers? We got everything. And so it repeated itself the second time, and but this time around it was a bit out of our control. So 70% of our equipment sets at the new factory that we just set up, 70% of it were diesel powered, and that was when diesel was 285 naira. And then, you know, all the while diesel was 285 naira, nothing happened though. Then we set it up. The same week we set it up, diesel moved to 1,500 or so. So this time around, I was just smiling. I was like, anything, because I've cried like past, and it seemed like I didn't have any tears anymore. But as the lesson that I learned, we'll separate it. The ones that are external, it's beyond our control. We don't have a refinery or what's it called in our factory. We're just a small business growing. So we're now having to change them into other sources. We're looking at solar, but it's not like we weren't looking at those opportunities before, but we didn't just have the resources and the capacity. And it's just unfortunate that happened. So there will be times of challenges, but the most important thing is, as much as the other aspects that you have control over, that is my own motto. Do I have control over this thing? Can I ask other people for support? Can I do something about it? As long as I can do something about it, I no longer cry anymore. But it's been rosy? No, it's not been rosy. But the benefits have certainly outweighed the challenges. Thank you.
Let's give Tony a round of applause. Thank you. Yeah. In fact, when you were saying, if you see how she was saying, you could feel, she could feel it personally. Personally, yes. Because even, our office is small, but when that jump happened, I know that our diesel cost was about 5 times. And then light just became terrible. So when you talked about resilience, particularly in an operating environment like ours, it's really there. So Olabisi, my question to you was, can you speak a bit more about how did you transition from work to now running your business full time? You did talk about it, but I know that in the data that we got from those who are here, there's some people who are straddling work and then also business. And at some point in time, you can be burning the candlestick on both ends, because if you have, particularly if you're in a full-time job, your employer expects you minimum of 8 to 5 there, and then you're doing that. So how were you able to make that decision that this was the time to do it?
So for me,
And guidance for individuals who are on that journey now.
okay, I was able to make that decision based on analysis and data. So because I knew that what I was selling was for nursing mothers, expectant mothers, not just for nursing mothers, but majorly those were my target then. So, and then I saw the analysis that 10 out of, let's say 7 or 5 out of 10 women, when I did an analysis then, they give birth almost every day. And then with the growth rate of Nigeria, all of those things I just calculated in my head that I need to focus full time with this job if I want to take it anywhere. I was juggling with work but it wasn't going well. I was hoping that, when I work, I'll be able to feed the business. But I think for you to make anything out of your business, you need that drive. You need to be there. If you really want to make for me, I want to be. We are already a fast-moving consumer goods, so it's a lot. You have to. For me, the vision directed me. This is what I want for my business. If I say I want to do millions, if I say I want to produce millions, I cannot juggle the two together. We have to set up structure and all of that. And I have to be 100% available. I have to know many things for myself. Do you understand? So, and then I think the level that you have would inform if you are to move or not. The kind of thing you want to achieve will also inform you if you can juggle the two together. I hope.
Yes, you did. Very well said. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Molade, if you have somebody like Etoke in your employment who has a great business, she's leaving the company in the next 3 months. You have Toyin too. She's the head of media and communications who is leaving the business. And then you are the employer. How do you, as an employer or labor, attract and retain talent in this time where good talent is extremely hard to find? And not because there's not individuals out there, but the employability levels are really poor. How do you attract and retain good talent? How do you set up your business? Bearing in mind that some of us are just employing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, so not even a lot of people.
That's like $1 million question. So I think that one thing that I always say to our employer partners is, what is your employee value proposition? Everybody must have an employee value proposition. So even as an entrepreneur, why should anybody come and work for you? It has to be beyond what you can or cannot pay. If the only value proposition you have for people is a salary, you will be sure that, before long, people will start moving. And they say change is constant, right? People are going to move. People are going to leave. I always say to employers that, you can't hold people down. But for the time where they are with you, there are some important and key things that you need to do to make sure that, one, you get the best out of them, but also that they feel connected to your employment. So I will start off by saying something around motivators, and it's something that we do even for our staff. Every time someone comes into Wave, we have this motivators test that we do. And it's really 13 questions we ask. What motivates you in a workplace? Right now, most people pick, salary and remuneration as number 1. But we have other things on the list, including things like autonomy, flexibility to work. So maybe young mothers who have small children, they want a little bit of flexibility. And we find that if you understand what motivates people, and you are able to speak to that, or you're able to help them achieve that motivator, you will get the most out of people. So first of all, as employers of labor, whether you are hiring one person or two people, it doesn't matter. But why should anybody come and work for you? What is motivating them? So for someone who is autonomy, it means that what are some tasks that I can give this person to make sure, and let them know that they own this task. Once you can feed that, people are motivated and will stay on. And then beyond money, so some people say, oh, I don't have a lot of money to pay. But what other, again, back to that value proposition, what are some other things that you can give to people? Training, capacity, helping them improve their learning. And there's lots of free learning out there. So a lot of people feel like if I have to put together a training course or a training program, I have to shed out a lot of money. It's actually not true. Let me come back to relationship building, which our keynote spoke about. Just even in church, there are people who are doing amazing things, who are willing to say, you know what, I can give you 2 hours and come and do some free training for your staff on something. The other day and then there's some other organizations that you can call. So our pension is through Stanbic IBTC. So we had a session where we just called our account manager to come and talk to the team about their pension, what it really means, how they can, and a lot of people were like, wow, I never knew this. People are building investment portfolios. It may not necessarily be connected to the work that you do, but you are adding value. You're adding value to people. And then as an entrepreneur, especially when you are still very small and you have 5 or 10 staff, how are you also coaching and mentoring people? I've heard many people say, you know what, I stay in that organization because my boss really cares about me as a person. There's a quote that I use all the time. I think I even still used it this morning with the conversation, which says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If people see that, you care about me as a human being, I'm not just a number that is helping you grow your business. People will actually give you more than you could ever, you might ever imagine. So how invested are you in the individuals who are working with you? Do you actually know about their families? Do you actually know when, how much people love it when you say, your son turned 5 yesterday. Happy birthday. How is he? Or I saw on your page that, your brother got married. Congratulations to you and your family. So you are connected to them on a personal level, and people give more. So a lot of times it's not just about the money. And then maybe the last thing that I would say is that it's not too early as an entrepreneur to start thinking about succession. And who this role, especially the critical roles you have in your organization, if this person leaves today, and people leave for various reasons, people leave to go and start a business. As an entrepreneur, I'm sure you both will have examples of people that have left to go and go and become your competitor, even because they feel like they can do it better than you. People leave, we all know about Jackpa, and this whole thing, once it comes, everybody's off. So I always say that as you're coaching and mentoring, how are you building succession planning for some critical roles? They may not even know it, but what are you doing to intentionally make sure that there is no key man risk? Because what happens with key man risk, with especially small businesses, is that role is either you automatically, when that person leaves, you now have to be the one running that role or doing that role, which stretches you too thin. Or have you identified someone else to say, okay, if this role is so critical to me that if this person leaves, there's somebody else that I have been coaching or somebody else that is aware that comes in. And let me just say this last thing before I drop, is around documenting your processes and policies for every single role. It's not when you are 100 or when you are so big that you start documenting it. I say to my team, for every single role, document what you are doing. Document your day-to-day. Document how you do certain things. A lot of us have it in our heads, which is great. But the problem is when somebody new comes in, you then have to invest so much time in downloading that versus, you know what, here's a manual. Here is the way with which this role works. And the person can almost hit the ground running. So what is your employee value proposition? Ask yourself, why should anybody work for me? Why is this business one that anybody should come and want to be a part of? If you are able to answer those questions, I think that you already have a good place in terms of motivating and retaining staff. And a good way to ask the people who work with you today, why are you here? Why have you stayed for this long? What is it about this job that has kept you here? And then you begin to build on that. And before you know it, you're building a family rather than just a bunch of people or a bunch of numbers that work for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, one of the things one of my staff said about 5 years ago was that Nigeria is so stressful. I don't want to come to a work environment that also has added stress. So I traveled 2 hours from my house to office. I probably maybe woke up at 4:30, went through public transport, paid more money than I expected, and the like. And that's what a lot of our employees are also asking for, those who are also employers. And I like what Malene said at the end about asking them. Sometimes yes, you are the owner of the business, but you probably are not the only one that has all the excellent ideas. Even if they will suggest things you already know, just bringing them into the conversation. Say, okay, how can we make this a better place of work for you? And them knowing that, there's an additional interest and care that this person has. And you know that image of a one-man business that people have always had, I really do think it's changing significantly. But just bringing them into that conversation is also very helpful. Thank you very much. So we will round up with the questions we've had. I'm not sure that I'll be able to take any more questions on stage. So please, so I'll go to Mr. Ajobale. We have about 2 to 3 questions around the same thing. And the way I'll ask it is that, can everybody be an entrepreneur? Should everybody be an entrepreneur is the fancy thing nowadays. And then for somebody who has ideas, how does that person test that idea is a viable business and can be successful?
Can anybody be an entrepreneur? I'd say absolutely yes. It depends on what scale.
Okay.
You can ask a parallel question and say, can anybody be a farmer? Yes. Everybody should be a farmer. Everybody can pour beans away outside their house and the beans will grow and you will harvest the beans. You're a farmer. It's a mindset thing to what scale you want to take. Can everyone render a service to someone else? Absolutely yes. Nobody is useless. Everybody has got something in them that somebody else can pay for. Find it. And that's what I said earlier on. Find what somebody is going to pay you for. Everybody has got something in them. And if you don't, then really you shouldn't be eating. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is, can everybody, now, entrepreneurship now depends. If you define it by a company that's a certain size, then not everybody has got that ability to run that. They included, right? But at the same time, what little I can, what little organization I have, and what little relationships I have built, I can do some things that get me to a certain level. And I'll tell you what, get a great entrepreneur and give them a small business, they'll grow the business. Get a bad entrepreneur, give them the largest company, they will shrink the company down to their size. But everybody is an entrepreneur, absolutely. It depends on how you interact with people, what you set your mind to do, how committed you are, and how organized you are. But yes.
Yes.
There was a second question you then asked.
So I asked about how do you make it viable? Yes. So you've talked about how to test the idea, but how do you make it viable?
So
how can you determine it's successful?
How do you determine whether it's successful? Well, that your success is really a measurement of your vision and how close you are to achieving it. So if you believe that the journey you wanted to cover is from here to the door, by the time you hit the door, you are telling yourself you're successful. Even what we consider to be the most successful companies in the world today, in 5 years' time, they will not be considered the most successful in the world. Yeah. Why? Because there will be some that are bigger, some that are better organized, some that has less infractions or more sustainability. It depends on what measurement you want to use to determine what is a successful business. But the word successful means And I'll go back to what you said. It means there is some succession and sustainability in place. That is what I would consider to be a successful company, not one that has come in a flash in the pan, that has come, made some noise, and then gone out of the scene, but one that has got succession and that has been around for a while and continues to grow and also continues to impact people in a profitable manner.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Toyin, next for you, 2 questions. What kind of lucrative business can a housewife embark upon, and how can that person get funding to finance their business? We've actually talked about the funding part a bit. Then second, because I know you have also experienced this, how do you handle situations where you've packaged your products, but people are saying it's a local product and they look down on it compared to an international brand? So how has August Secret been able to position itself against Gerber Foods and all the other imported products? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the first one for the housewife, lucrative means of generating income. I'll use that word as against starting a business. I think there are ideas such as, because the world's value system is changing now to digital, so we have, on top of my head, so it's divided into 2. First, can the housewife look around her environment, the needs, because in the world's value system, the businesses only work when there's a need, when there's a hungry market. So even if I share some ideas, it might not be as viable as the ones you find yourself. So the ideas that I have, without understanding your environment or what opportunities you have available, the world needs writers now, content creators. There's this word I'm trying to look for, virtual assistants. Virtual assistants, you won't leave your table, you won't leave your bedroom to do that. So people write now and get paid for it. Editing, you edit content, work, and get paid for it. Virtual assistants, and think other job opportunities or work opportunities that relate to the digital world. And then for the and that can be learned through digital skills. It's really much more available now. I would say that you don't even need to go miles to look for them. Just check online, you find a whole lot. I think Heels and Tech does something to teach women certain digital skills that are relevant in today's world, and a number of other opportunities too in that regard. Is really something you can do or consider. Then, of course, in your environment as well, you never can tell. Supplying of eggs, I know that is very common. A lot of people do that just within 2 hours during the day, and they make a lot of money. I know about 2 people that do that. They just go supply supermarkets and go back to your house. Just 2 hours, and you get your money at the end of the week. Clean, quiet business, So it's something that I would like to invest in if I have the time to look around my environment. It's really something good. So I think that's that for the housewife. And then the second question is people looking down on your product. So I missed that out in one of the challenges. It used to be a challenge when we began, but how we're able to overcome that was differentiation. So we say that a lot of times. Our product is not like the other imported product. Our product is related to our founding philosophy, which is not all children will eat imported food. You see, so I'm not competing, or we are not competing with children of parents who want to eat imported food. We want to stay in our niche and provide solutions to children with special needs, children with special diets. Don't eat this, don't eat that. But when you get to the market, you find imported food that don't care about you. August Secret cares about you, cares about your child. We will give you a meal plan that will tailor to the need that the doctor says about your child, not you importing bread from Malaysia. We would make it for you here in Lagos, and you will be happy that to find a brand that has your child and your family in mind. That's our value proposition. So we're not competing with anybody.
Exactly.
And we're proudly made in Nigeria.
Thank
Very
you.
proud,
In
particularly.
fact, there's not a time like now for doing proudly made in Nigeria goods. And you should own it. But people want to see quality standards, even here, even more so locally. So, and a lot of people are making choices between this thing that I'll pay Naira for, this thing that, the conversion is at 1 to 1,400, 500. So this is really your time to be able to expand on that. So very quickly, it's okay. How does one resolve NAFDAC issues? Just very quickly, how did you resolve that? So that's a key question. And then just a bit, how have you also built your brand? There's a question about branding.
Okay, for the NAFDAC, I think they are approachable now. When I started, they don't even have an MSME desk. So excuse me. Now they even have, if you are doing food business, you can register your NAFDAC in your kitchen. But there are ways that they will, there are things that you have to put in place. So they are very approachable.
So they should go to the NAFDAC
Sincerely,
office.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if that person can see me, I can recommend the name or,
Okay,
just
so
link you up.
she'll meet you on the side. The person actually requested for that. Thank you. Then brand, how have you built your brand?
Okay, there are a lot of things that has to do with brand building, marketing relentlessly, identifying, areas that people need our products, using technology, social media. I mean, I don't pay to be on. You are not paying to be on Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok. So identifying those. For when we started, we really could not afford billboard radio. Even now, I don't even think I want to do that yet because it's not measurable for me. Yeah. So we have a lot of avenues that you can use to build your brand, market, tell your story, listen out for exhibition. We attend a lot of exhibitions. Mm-hmm. The ones that are not popular, the ones that are popular, extend it towards Africa if you can't go outside Africa, things like that. And also sponsoring, things that are within the value of our business. Mm-hmm. That's another way we get to build our brand.
Thank you very much. And there's also a session on the digital economy happening later on in the afternoon. So please do ask those questions. One of the things I always suggest is just be good on one platform. Don't spread yourself too much. Obviously, have a presence on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. But there should be a platform where people know if it's Instagram, you're doing it very well. Your products you're capturing the pictures very well. You respond to messages. When people send you messages, you're available there. For some people, it's WhatsApp, and everything. So find that and do it very well. Thank you. Then, Molade, how do people handle staff challenges? And then what should people look for in staffing, in staffing for their business? Thank you. And then perhaps if people want to engage with Wave, how do they find out about Wave? What are your services and how do they reach you?
Okay, thank you. Staff challenges, it's very general. There needs to be what specific staff challenge are you sort of talking about? But I think for me, one of the things that I have found is open communication and clear policies is always, an easy go-to. You can never know what all of the challenges are, but once a challenge comes up, what policy have you then put in place to address future challenges that way? So I'm unable to really answer that question because I don't know what the specific sort of staff challenge is, but I would say is being open, be the boss that people can come and actually talk to and share what challenges they're going through. I always say we call it water cooler conversations. People are gathering and talking about things, and then when you walk past, everybody's quiet. Nobody wants to say anything again. Be open enough for people to be able to say, this isn't working, we're having this challenge. And then at least they trust you enough that whatever response you give you, remember I said that thing about how people feel like you care about them. So they trust that whatever response you give you, even though it's not the one they're looking to hear, they know that they trust that you have listened to them and you will sort of push that way. The second question was, what do you think about when you are staffing? I think you need to ask yourself, what are the key skills and the competencies that you need for this job? What are some things that are very, very important to you when you're looking for someone? The most qualified on paper isn't necessarily the most competent on the job. So when you are interviewing, there's this way of interviewing. It's called the STAR model of interviewing. And it's really about asking people questions around their competence on the job versus very generic. We have very generic questions like what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths? I mean, I can go and research that. I can even ask ChatGPT now. It will tell me the best way to answer those questions, in an interview. But if for you, for instance, conflict resolution is important, you can ask a question like, tell me about a time where you had to deal with a conflict. Give an example. What exactly did you do? How did you manage it? And just hear how people are speaking. Let people speak from their experience. If integrity is important to you, you could ask questions that speak to, that exactly sort of speak to that. So I would say when hiring people, first of all, you need to ask yourself, who is the ideal person for this role? What are the things that are important that this person must have? And then again, honestly, you can actually use ChatGPT to help you craft questions that will help you get out whether this person is ideal for the job or not. Funny story. There was someone we asked a question about conflict resolution, and the person thought it was a good idea to give an exam. The person was great on paper, and the interview had been good up until this point. And a lot of the person in the conflict resolution said, I don't take nonsense, so if anybody tries me, I will try them back. We all looked at each other and said, nope, this is not the kind of value that we want to bring. And the person looked very, very calm, but you could tell that if this person was coming in as a manager level, we're going to lose everybody that works under this person. So again, and lastly, as children of God, I think it's important to invite God into your interviews. I always say that before I have interviews, I've had, a quick prayer session, maybe not quick, long, whatever you want to do, and say, Father, the right person for this role, you are going to bring them out in this interview. And there will be things that they would say, manners in which they will ask, that you would know whether this person is right or not. So we partner with the Holy Spirit in other areas of our lives. Let's make sure we're partnering with the Holy Spirit with our businesses as well. And lastly, I'll talk about WAVE. We offer, our training programs are free. You don't pay to attend any of our training. We do employability skills training. We do digital skills training. So we teach people web design, UI, UX, graphics design, etc., etc. We also do executive assistant and virtual assistant training. All of the information can be found on our website, www.waveacademy.org. So they're free. You do pay a training fee, but you pay a training fee only after you have found a job, because our goal is to get people into work. So we don't just train, we also partner with people to actually match them to jobs and find jobs. But all the information you need, you can find on our website.
www.wave
Academy.org.
Yes. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Bolade. Thank you. And last question, Mr. Jomale. There are 3 questions I'm going to match together for you. One, somebody has not fulfilled a credit facility. They took a loan. It went bad. They can't pay back. What does the person do? How does the person resolve that? Number 2, on governance. How and when should one begin to put proper governance in place? And then number 3, somebody has a lot of responsibilities. I'm assuming as a person, as family and all of that, but the person also wants to start a business afresh. How does the person juggle both? Thank you. And those will be the last set of questions. Thank you.
Bad credit. Bad credit, you really do need to repair. It's reputational. Yeah. If you do not repair one bad incident, that record will follow. In fact, we're even lucky in Nigeria that credit history does not follow you around too much. It's not as if the person has forgotten, and if they see you sometime in the future, they can remind everybody around as well that person will not pay you back. They owe me. They still do. I think someone mentioned earlier on that, even market women remember somebody who owes them 15 naira from many years back. So bad credit, you need to repair, especially when you are aware of it. You need to work towards it. You took a loan, it didn't work, so you're still owing it. If you can take another loan to use to generate a revenue that you can then use to go and repay the credit, please do so. That is probably the best solution that you have. Another way of going about it is probably put the business on hold, go into employment, generate some revenue. Either way, you do need to pay back that money. You can either you can actually go and borrow more and then use it to pay back. But either way, you need to repair that situation first.
I also add that go and have a conversation. That's not the time to be running away from the person, whether it's a bank or financial institution. The mistake people make is they then avoid totally. The person that loaned you money wants to get as much as they can, from you. So go, make sure you have those conversations, engage, see if you can restructure it, but do not disappear.
In terms of governance, at what stage do you put governance in place, right?
Yes.
So governance starts from day one. And governance day one means even if you're the only person in the business, the governance at that point is keep the business's money for the business. Keep your own money for yourself. Put yourself on a salary. Discipline yourself. Governance is all about discipline and an orderly way of doing things. So it's not as if I've seen businesses where once there's a need, I want to buy petrol for the generator or something or another, you just go to the till and you grab some cash and you go and do what you need to do. That has got no governance whatsoever. Governance is really disciplining yourself, putting procedures in place, getting other people to join you and giving them separate responsibilities. So it starts from day one and it grows as the business grows. It gets more complex and more, I don't know what the word is now, but it gets more complex and more sophisticated is the word, as the business grows in sophistication. I have many responsibilities and I want to grow a business. Those 24 hours in the day really can either be, those 24 hours of the day can contain maybe just 1 hour of useful work or 20 hours of useful work, depending on how efficient you are. What are those responsibilities? How have you prioritized those responsibilities? Sometimes it's just a lot of noise and activity. Remember what I said about sharpening the axe. If you don't sharpen the axe, you will spend a lot of energy. You will spend a lot of power trying to do the things you want to do. But if you have put some, and I don't know what the particular situation is, if I knew, maybe that's what we'll talk about, but you will find that you can apply some efficiency into the things that you need to do, and that way you can free up some time to run your business. But not knowing the exact substance, it'll be a bit more difficult for me to say these responsibilities, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't have, or you should have.
Fantastic. And on that note, please can you give my great panel a warm round of applause? Thank you so much for your experience, your insights that you've shared. The church has promised to make sure that the recording of this session is available. I had about 3 requests for that. Some people said even put it in an audio format that they can hear. Somebody said put it on YouTube and the like. I'm sure that that will be made available, including the list of all the agencies. Thank you so much, Mrs. Onigbanjo. You can find August Secrets on any social media platform. Mr. Jomale, thank you so much for your wealth of experience, for your keynote speech, and all the insights that you've shared. Thank you, Miss Toke. Miss Olabisi Dada, for sharing your experiences and your insights. I know that we can find Toke Cosmetics too anywhere. And also to Wave Academies, who offers free training programs. So for a lot of our young people, please take advantage. It was my pleasure moderating this panel. Miss Adeni has to go, so she's literally rushing off, and I'm sure a lot of our other panelists too. So whatever we need to do, we need to round up. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can we just another round of applause? Please, we want to create your indulgence for just 1 minute. We want to give you our gifts. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We have been richly, richly blessed. Indeed, our minds have been empowered, and we're going to go places. And we will refer to that, it was when we came to this business summit, we had this, we had that, and we're going forward. We're going to make you proud. Do we promise to do that? All right, so very quickly, we don't want to take any more of their time. We're going to present an award. We have our beautiful elders here to help us with it. I will start with our keynote speaker, and I'll please call upon our elder, Daddy, Mr. George Osaho, to please help us present an award to our keynote speaker. Can we please clap as he comes up? He's an elder, please. All right. Sorry, sir. come up, sir. Keep clapping for him, oh. Keep clapping, keep clapping. Let me bring it up. All right, I need to present this to him, sir. Thank you, sir. You want-
This is very unfair. The only man that is there is the one I want to present to. I feel so sorry for him in the midst of how many women. Wonderful man, you've tried. I don't know how you achieved it. Sorry, sir. Oh, really? Ladies first, after men. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. All right, can we please call on our pastor, our daddy in the house, Pastor Muyiwa Akinyele, to present to Mrs. Molade. Thank you. Can I have her one? Clap, clap, clap. It's our pastor, our very own pastor. Hey. Thank you so much, ma. All right. Can I call on our mommy in the house? Thank you, sir. Our mommy, Pastor Mrs. Joke Akinyele, all the way from Lekki, Lagos, Nigeria. Please let's clap for her. She's the first lady of the house. Can we please keep clapping? Okay, so she's presenting to Mrs. Toyo Banjo. Yep. Yes, please. Yes, ma'am. Next person. Thank you so much, ma. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you for coming. All right, I also want to call on our daddy in the house, our elder, Dikin Muyiwa Iwayemi, to present to Mrs. Olabisi Korede Dada. Thank you so much. We were truly inspired by your story. Can we keep clapping as our daddy is coming up? Oh, clap, 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 clap. Keep clapping, clapping. He's the pastor in charge of the TOG Business Network Group. Thank you. Last one, yeah. All right. And last but not the least, our very able and capable moderator, Mrs. Nika Adeyemi. Thank you for doing a fantastic job. We're going to be calling our mommy in the house, Mommy Iwayemi, our etiquette mommy. See how she's walking majestically up. Yes.
Thank you.
Can we put our hands together again for Mrs. Nikki Adeyemi? Can we now put our hands together for ourselves? You have been fantastic. Thank you for staying this long. We also want to recognize the presence of Mrs. Funke Okpeke, the Chief Executive Officer of Main One Cable. Thank you so much for coming. We are delighted to have you grace this occasion. Can we put our hands together for her?